Hi, my name is Darrin Harris, and I am the CEO of Akaya Youth Project, Inc. There's something that we need to talk about, and that's something that we need to talk about is mental health. And we need to deal with the mental health stigma that is associated, of course, with our communities. And for so long, we haven't talked about it. And because when we don't talk about it, there are people who are living in silence. You know, they're living with depression, they're living with schizophrenia, they're living with bipolar this diagnosis, which hasn't been diagnosed because they haven't sought the health care that they need. And so what we do at Akaya Youth Project is we have a national campaign that's called ZeroStigma.org. And I love to talk about ZeroStigma.org because this is how we raise awareness. This is how we say to communities of color that there's no shame and no blame as it relates to mental or behavioral health challenges. And we're here to say unapologetically that if you have a mental or behavioral health challenge, you don't have to suffer in silence and you don't have to suffer alone. There's help, there's hope, and there's healing. And we want to help you. The reason why I believe speaking about mental health is important really comes down to my own similar life experience. I know what it's like to suffer in silence. I know what it's like to remain silent. And when I remained silent about the challenges that I was faced with, the mental and behavioral challenges, I didn't get the help that I needed. And because I didn't get the help that I needed, I suffered, and I suffered a lot. But I wanted to say to, of course, communities of color, specifically young people, transition age youth, that you don't have to suffer in silence. As it relates to being an entrepreneur, especially in a nonprofit world, and many people, they shy away because, when you think about nonprofits, traditionally, people are thinking that nonprofits should not profit. But that's not necessarily true. And one of the things that I do is I talk to nonprofit leaders all across the country. And what I say to them is that you can be a high performance leader. You can operate a high performance organization. In fact, you should want to, because that's how we're able to help other people. We need the resources. And so that requires, of course, yes, leading from the heart, but we also must lead from the head. And when we lead from the head, that's what makes a difference in our communities. That's what's going to empower your communities to get the resources that they need. One of the things I talk about all the time is for organizations who are nonprofit organizations to increase their community credit score. And there's a couple of different ways to do that, but primarily you have to build trust with that community, and that means you have to be transparent. And when you build trust and you're transparent in your communities, what happens is people donate. People donate to organizations that are doing something. People donate to organizations that are moving. People donate to organizations that have movements that move. And so it is important for us to have people who are entrepreneurial to be a part of nonprofits, because we need individuals who can, of course, obtain the resources and then to also manage those resources, not just manage those resources, but to monitor those resources and then ultimately master those resources so that we can improve our communities. For a long time, nonprofits have been given a bad rep. But there are 4 things that I always say that will make a successful organization. And I call it ACTS, A-C-T-S. And it's an acronym. A stands for accountability. The C stands for compliance. The T, transparency. And then the S for sustainability. These 4 things will always keep a nonprofit in good standing. It will always, what I believe anyway, it will always give the nonprofit what I call community credit. We got to be accountable, and there are different levels of accountability. It's not just about the leaders internally that need to be accountable, but we need to have communities that hold nonprofits accountable. We need stakeholders to hold nonprofits accountable. But most importantly, the leaders of those nonprofits must be held accountable and accountable to themselves. The C, compliance. There's so many different best practices and so many different standards that could help a nonprofit to be compliant. There's accrediting bodies, and so I always encourage nonprofits to get audited, right? Get audited, get accredited, and then make your organization compliant. Then the T, in terms of transparency, this is going to be really important if you're a nonprofit leader. You got to be transparent. You got to be transparent, because transparency builds trust. And if you're able to build trust, then you can increase your community credit. And then, of course, the S is for sustainability. You got to be sustainable. Organizations that are sustainable, those are organizations that build and last. These are organizations that create what I call a legacy. The 3 keys to success. I want to share with you 3 things that will help you to be successful if you're a nonprofit leader. one of the first things that's going to help you to be successful is just to be, once again, transparent. You got to be transparent if you're going to be successful. Another thing that's going to help you to be successful is always learn. Never be afraid to learn. Always place yourself in a position where you are receiving knowledge. But just don't receive the knowledge, give the knowledge. Because the only way we can keep what we have is if we give it away. Now, the third thing that I want to share with you about a key to success is to value others. Value others. That's the most important thing that any leader can do. And if you can value others, then you're going to be a successful leader. But you can't value others until you first value yourself. And so it's really important, if you're going to be a leader, value yourself and then value others. And then you'll add value to value. How we do? Man, you're killing me today.